local foods coordinator with Buchanan County ISU Extension and Outreach. And we're here today at Golden Valley Farms in Stanley, Iowa, here in Buchanan County. And with me is Dan and Nancy Hayes, and they're going to tell you all about their farm.
Okay, we moved here, it will be 11 years ago, April 10th, and where we have our acre of asparagus used to be, I'd say, a boys' motocross run. There used to be like, I'd say, 7 hills that we took down, seeded, and then Dan started planting probably 8 years ago.
The first year we actually planted 300 plants the first year, and most years we add a few more, and we'll walk out back here and you can see where we grow it. It's sort of been a process. We didn't know what we were getting in for totally until we got into it. We originally tried to raise some cherry trees. We still got a few over here you can see, but the cherry trees is not, we don't have the right environment and they keep dying. So as they die, we keep adding more, a little bit more asparagus all the time. So we planted them in trenches here. We buy roots, and we plant a root every foot, and the rows are 5 feet apart. And it takes about 3 years of production, or 3 years, then they get into full production. One of our biggest problems out here is the weeds. This year we aren't able to till because it's too wet, so we are burning them with a torch, which is over here. Maybe a little bit later I'll just start it up so you can see how we work that a little bit. So we plant them in trenches 8 feet deep. We just lay them in there, cover them up, and we just try to control the weeds, which is, and then we wait 3 years to start harvesting. I do most of the picking, and Nancy puts it in bundles of a pound each. And we sell to a couple of farmers markets, a restaurant. We sell some to Hy-Vee in Cedar Falls, and of course people we know just either stop in or Nancy makes a delivery today, which is Thursday, so that is one of the things we have to do. We pick them depending on the weather. It's hot today, so we'll pick them twice today. We pick them at, we put them in totes that are a foot wide, and so they have to fit in there. And after you pick them a while, you can pretty much tell the height of them, so you can pick them. And by picking them twice a day, they never get, they're never really woody. And then Nancy, when she puts them in pound packages, she tries to size them as small, medium, and large, so they all cook evenly, even though they're all tender. I'm trying to see, yeah, like here, this is how we pick them. We take a knife, and so these two are ready to pick. We just cut them off at the ground, and then we'll cut them to, these are a little bit long, I'm guessing. I'd say they should be about this long. And then we just throw them in the tote. As soon as we get the tote full, which holds about 10 pounds, we wash them off with water, and Nancy sizes them. If she is busy at that time, we just put them in water and put them in the cooler, and then she'll size them later, because we always want to keep them cool so they stay fresh. As you can see, the weeds are a problem, and like I've said before, that gets to be our biggest problem. But burning them off seems to work. Another thing you can see, like over here, we feel these were too thin to harvest, so we just let them grow, and then they add energy back to the plants that are growing. When we get all done harvesting, we harvest for 8 weeks. When we get all done harvesting, what we'll do is we'll cut everything off. We till it all black to kill all the weeds, and then we put a cover crop over the top of clovers that will winter kill out. And it suppresses the weeds, and it adds nitrogen back to the soil for fertilizer. Another thing we do, there's an asparagus beetle that can be a problem. And one of the best ways to control the asparagus beetle, we read, was using guineas, and they're a bird. I think you can see some over there sitting, and they eat the bugs. And so they'll come out here through the patch, and we've never had a bug problem after we got the guineas. We also raised some raspberries, and last year a lot of people were having trouble with bugs in the raspberries, and we thought we had a problem until I talked to other people. Then we knew they were helping control some of the bugs in the raspberries. I mean, they keep it down to a threshold where it is not where you do not have to use chemicals to control it. Another thing we do we use corn gluten meal, which is also a natural product, and it suppresses the weeds. It's never 100% because we always have some weeds, but I also realize it helps control it some, and so it is just one of the many tools we use to control the bugs. Control some of our problems, I guess. We'll go over here and we'll start this torch quick, just so you can see how it, how that works. I usually wear gloves. I'm only going to do it a bit, so. You can see we don't have to completely disintegrate the plants. What it does, it bursts the cell walls and they'll quit growing. And we've been across this 3 times this year. So you can see it does help quite a bit because between the rows it's pretty good. We can't do it in the rows because it would hurt the asparagus. But it is one of the things we do. If it dries off, we'll till it. And like I said, at the end of the season, we want to till it all so it's black, so we get all the weeds down. Then the asparagus will grow up.
So do you cut the asparagus every day?
We cut it at least once a day, and in warm weather like today, we'll cut it twice today. Okay. And then it's always tender, and we want it to be tender. And it does spread some of the workload out, because if you come out here, if you cut it once a day, it's actually still tender, except you got to pick it all and cut off a lot on the bottom. So we do whatever we can to save time. The first couple years we were doing it, we had to keep figuring out ways to pick it faster. We used to just pick it. I'd leave it long, bring it all in, give it to Nancy in a jumbo mess, and she would have to sort through it, cut it to the right length and everything, and we figured that was taking way too much time. So then we started buying these totes, and we put it in the totes, and we know it's the right length. She can just grab it, and she doesn't have to cut it, because we had to figure out faster ways to harvest it and handle it. We do hire some help at times, depending if We got a couple of high school girls that are pretty good help if they're not studying. So, and so that helps also. Let's see. We can go into the shed and we'll show you the cooler where we keep it, and then I can show you the size totes we're using. This is the cooler where we keep some of it, and then we have another cooler in the garage. But we keep it in here. It's, as you can see, we got letters down the side, numbers across the top, so then we know where it's at, and what day we put it in there. So we're always using the oldest asparagus first. This tote is a foot wide, so we're picking in the totes like this, and then we store it in totes like this, and we always keep a little bit of water in the bottom. And but we also try to at the end of the week, our goal is always to be out of asparagus on Saturday at noon. We're selling at the farmers market in Independence. So most of the time, if we have any left, we'll give to the food bank. That doesn't always happen because sometimes we have an order on a Monday that we have to save a certain amount of asparagus for. So we're always just trying to coordinate the amount of asparagus we're harvesting and where it's going. But we just always try to keep it fresh. We never figure it's over 3 or 4 days old. It's the oldest it's ever been before we get rid of it. So we always try to have a good product.
Also, when I bundle the thing, we used to just, I'll get my pound, put the rubber band around it, and put it in a container. But we found out if we put a paper towel around the bottom and put a little water in the tote, which we always do, but the paper towel holds more and keeps that asparagus much fresher.
This is the paper towel. I try to do it. I can't ever do it, but she does it well. The other girls do well. What we harvest and sell to our IB, they don't want the paper towel on there. They take it off. So theirs, we do not put it on.
Is that how you recommend people store it in their fridge?
It all depends when they're going to use it. You know, like I said, the paper towel just seems to absorb the water and hold on to it a little more, so it stays a little fresher. So, you know, if they're going to use it in a day, you know, it's okay to be it in water. But any kind of amount of time, paper towel, we found out it works really well.
How fast does it like asparagus grow? Like when you go in do your 2-day pickings, is it drastically a different height?
Yes. We figure in warm weather it'll grow about 6 inches in 24 hours. And so it grows fast. In cooler weather it won't grow as fast. It's probably growing at least an inch every day, even in cold weather. But I'd say most days it'll grow 2 or 3 inches. So there is a difference between morning and night. That's why we're picking it twice a day. So if that one is just a little bit short in the morning, we can pick it at night. Sometimes I'm wondering how fast to be picking it. And my knife, it's got to be about 2 inches longer than my knife. So it's about the same height as my knife. I'll probably wait. But sometimes if it's hot, I will pick those so it does stay fresh. Another thing we do with all our containers, of course we're always washing them out and stuff, but another thing we do, we use Clorox wipes before we start. We always wipe them out one last time, And we feel that that helps keep the bacteria down and keeps it a little bit fresher. And I'm not sure that happens, but we perceive that, so then we do that. And then we're always wiping our hands, our equipment with wipes too. And those are just some of the things over the years. If we walk into our garage, you can sort of show you where we keep some of our coats and stuff. And if you're wondering, Nancy is very good at raising cats. So we got a few more cats than I think that are necessary, but she raises them well. This is our garage, and this is the refrigerator over here where we still keep the asparagus. What we learned over the years is when you're handling asparagus and you're doing a lot of it, you need lots of these containers. And so, of course, they're all sitting around on the floor on shelves, or not on shelves, they're just sitting all over. A couple years ago, we decided we just have to get them up and out of our way. So we put these shelves up so then you can just stick them up here, you're not stumbling across them on the floors. We keep all the coolers, so whenever we're transporting it, we throw it in coolers to keep it cool and fresh. We put ice packs in there, a little bit of water in the bottom. So we're always trying to keep it fresh. So whenever we're using these, we wipe them out again with these Clorox wipes. And so that we just feel it's one more stage to keep everything clean. And sometimes you sort of go, well, we're trying to do this and keep everything clean, but we're also picking it off the ground. So it is just one of those things, but I think you need to be trying to keep things clean. I mean, it's just one of those things, and that's part of farming, you know. Our food comes from the ground, so that's part of our farming. Mm-hmm. So,
but they always say wash your vegetables before, or whatever, wash it before you use it. So, same thing with asparagus, even though it gets run through water twice, and you know, it don't hurt. It takes 2 seconds to do, and so.
Right.
What made you guys want to start a asparagus patch? Like, you just...
we call this our farm.
The Golden Valley Farm name came off my dad's barn. We've been married for 42 years. Or 43, one of those two. Anyway, that sign came off my dad's barn. So that's how we are, the Golden Valley Farm. And so the board is that old. It's been repainted once, but that it's off a farm. So
that's how we got the name Golden Valley Farm. We call it a farm, and it's 4 acres, which is not the size farm we're used to in Iowa. Except for us, it is. We both grew up, and we actually milked cows for 10 years. So we know what farming is, milking cows, being here twice a day. The asparagus, some people go, well, it's a lot of work, and you got to be here all the time to do it. And we go, this is a piece of cake, it lasts 2 months and we're done. So much easier than milking cows. We're raising the asparagus because people buy an acreage like this and they mow a whole bunch of lawn. Nancy loves to mow, but I felt this ground needs to be productive with something. And so we were trying different things. Like I said, we tried the cherry trees. We're growing some raspberries out back. We got some curly willow growing, and what's the other thing we got way back there?
Bittersweet.
Bittersweet. So we have lots of stuff going on, and then also the guineas. We raise and sell guineas too. So we have lots of stuff going on. We call it our farm. It's only 4 acres, but I wanted to grow something, so we just weren't mowing lots of lawn. So we started growing the asparagus, and it works out pretty good. It is seasonal, so it lasts a couple months. We have to weed it and stuff, but you know, the workload isn't quite so bad. And so that's how we got into the asparagus. And there are a few days you're going, what am I doing this for? But actually we enjoy doing it. I enjoy going to the farmer's market and selling it. That is probably the best part of it. But
So every night for 6 weeks or 7, we eat asparagus. And generally it's on a cookie sheet, laid out with asparagus with Lowry salt on it. But the other night, Dan used Parmesan cheese on it. But we have had it in a casserole dish with water and salt and pepper and onions and cheese, and that's really good too. And I have not had it, but they say the asparagus on the grill is pretty good to eat too. I look up recipes on the internet every once in a while, and there are a lot of recipes if you want to take the time to just hit asparagus on Google, and you will find some. And we try to make it for the farmer's market. We only really basically have the one kind right now, but I seen one with asparagus and pasta the other day, and I thought that sounded kind of good, but I don't have it pulled off yet. But so there is a lot of things to do with asparagus, and you can freeze it and use it in soup over the winter. But it's always better fresh, we feel, after all this time, but you know, you can do that. It will not hurt. I guess that's all about the recipes.
we actually broil it for 7 to 8 minutes is how we cook it on the cookie sheets.
Okay.
And sometimes after you've picked it and she's bundled it and it's 10 o'clock at night and you're going, what are we going to eat? So we're eating the ugly ones or curly ones, and we're so tired we're going, our decision is, do we eat something or just go to bed? So, but it is fun to run it as a little farm, and so we'll sell the asparagus, raspberries, guineas. We do sell a little bit of curly willow, and the bittersweet we could sell but it needs more work. So.
Can we go see the guineas?
Sure.
Oh, you just want to see my kids.
The cats don't hurt either.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to cook that out when I said you just wanted to see my cat.
What we do is, for the guineas, we collect the eggs and we run them through an incubator over here, and we'll run, this year we're going to run 5 batches of about 100 each. So we'll run 100 guinea eggs through there. Nancy picks them up, and we get 60 to 70% of them to hatch. Then we sell them to other people that want to eat bugs. And so we sell them about a month old for $5 a piece.
How long do they have to be incubated for?
They're 28 days, and but they don't start laying eggs usually until towards the end of April, and then they will lay eggs. They're a little bit crazy, but you can see these are the guineas. Then we got 9 chickens around here too. So if you wanted to show them, at least those are captured or whatever.
Are these like the younger ones or something?
These are just some we are collecting the eggs from, and they are actually the youngest ones, but only because we're collecting eggs.
How many guineas do you have?
We have 40 big guineas, and we usually carry 60, and next year we'll go back to 60. 40 isn't quite enough, and that's a personal opinion. 40 is probably enough, but we try to collect the eggs so they can eat the bugs, and so then we try to have a little bit of diversity in the farm. And you probably notice the kittens. Nancy's really good at raising kittens. That's all I can say. And we do have one Banty over here sitting on eggs. The guineas aren't good parents. They won't stay on the eggs. So that's why we run them through the incubator. But in here, I don't know if you can, she's roosting back in there. And she is actually sitting on guinea eggs. No, she's underneath.
Underneath?
She is sitting on guinea eggs because we don't have a rooster, but she will hatch the guinea eggs out and then she'll raise them as her own baby chicks, and they stay together 2 or 3 months afterwards, and then eventually the guineas sort of start living with the guineas and the chicken goes back living with the other chickens. She is a Banty. Banties have the maternal instinct to set up a nest and go to brooding, they call it. The other chickens, it really isn't bred into them. The guineas are just too flighty, and I never understand how they can live in the wild because we don't have good luck with them nesting. But one time we did have one hatch, 22 of them out in the weeds, and so it isn't that it never happens, it just doesn't happen regularly. So,
all right, Sarah, is there anything else we should ask?
No, I think we're good. I'm just here petting the kittens that they have. But yeah, so thank you so much, Dan and Nancy, for showing us your farm. This is so interesting. And,
okay.
Yeah.
We're glad you came.
Thank you.
And if you want to come back some other time, that is fine. We appreciate it.
All right.
So,
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Bye.